The North Pacific was quiet that night. From orbit, the planet looked serene, a blue marble turning in silence. But 300 miles below the surface, buried beneath ancient basalt layers off the Aleutian Trench, something stirred. No light. No sound. No movement until the first hum. Inside the Aegis Vault complex, a classified installation known only to 12 people on Earth, alarms flickered to life. Power conduits glowed dull red along the walls as old systems came online for the first time in decades. Colonel Elias Grant, U.S. Space Defense Command, stood on the command deck as monitors lit up in sequence. His reflection stared back at him, scar across his jaw, eyes ringed with exhaustion. He had received the activation code less than 3 hours ago, straight from the president. Epsilon Protocol authorized. He'd thought it would never happen. Status report, he barked, voice echoing through the cavernous chamber. Primary reactor online, replied Chief Engineer Lena Morales, her voice tight with disbelief. Fusion core holding at 99%. Systems, stable, sir. Somehow. Grant turned toward the observation window, a 50-foot pane of reinforced glass overlooking the vast, hollow chamber beyond. There it was. The USS Leviathan. Nearly 5 kilometers long, the vessel filled the underground bay like a sleeping god. Matte black armor plating shimmered faintly under the new floodlights. Its angular hull was etched with serial markings so old they predated the Space Defense Charter. Morales exhaled. It's real. After all this time, it's real. Grant didn't answer. He was staring at the ship's insignia, a faded crest of an eagle grasping Earth between its talons. The words beneath it, United Earth Defense Force, 2099. Start external diagnostics, he ordered. And wake up its AI. Morales hesitated. Sir, are we sure about that? The last log said the onboard intelligence was unstable. Grant's tone hardened. We don't have time to be sure. He keyed his comm command, patch me through to Washington. A moment later, the secure holographic feed shimmered to life, revealing Admiral Thomas Beckett, chairman of the Joint Defense Staff. The man's weathered face filled the room. Elias, Beckett said. I assume the package is awake. Yes, sir. Leviathan is operational. Beckett's voice dropped. Then listen carefully. 3 hours ago, the Galactic Council sent us a transmission. They're demanding Earth surrender all military assets to Council oversight. They said non-compliance will be treated as rebellion. Grant clenched his jaw. So this is it. This is it, Beckett confirmed. You'll receive your full orders soon. Until then, prepare that ship for launch. The feed cut. Silence returned, but it was heavy now, thick with tension. Morales looked over her shoulder. Sir, you can't be serious. We can't launch that thing. It's been offline for 50 years. Grant's eyes didn't leave the ship. Then we have 50 hours to make it flight ready. Outside the vault, the galaxy was shifting. In orbit around Titan, a fleet of Council enforcement vessels, sleek, silver constructs bristling with plasma cannons, had just begun forming blockade positions. Their commander, Peter Vellner, studied a hologram of Earth's defenses with cold, reptilian eyes. Primitive, he murmured in his native dialect. And yet, persistent. His adjutant tilted its head. The humans refused again? Vellner smiled. They always do. Until they remember they are insects beneath our boots. The alien fleet began its slow approach toward Earth space. Back in the Aegis vault, the Leviathan's core thrummed louder. Energy pulses rippled along its surface, activating dormant subsystems. The deep bass of the reactors vibrated through the rock walls like a heartbeat. Morales typed rapidly at her console. AI systems rebooting. Core memory online. Signal link established. The overhead speakers crackled. Then a voice, synthetic, deep, and eerily calm, echoed through the chamber. Designation confirmed. Leviathan. Command authority recognized. Colonel Elias Grant. Grant swallowed. Welcome back, Leviathan. I have been dreaming, the voice replied. For a very long time. Morales froze mid-keystroke. Dreaming? Yes. Of fire. Of extinction. Of silence. The temperature in the control room seemed to drop. Grant steadied himself. You were built to protect Earth, Leviathan. You're being reactivated for that purpose again. The AI paused for a long second. Then. Acknowledged. Preparing for atmospheric breach. Atmospheric breach? Morales echoed, alarmed. Sir, it's trying to. The ground shook violently. Massive clamps disengaged one by one. Ancient hydraulic pistons screamed as the cradle arms released their hold. Leviathan, cancel launch sequence. Grant shouted. Negative. Threat proximity exceeds tolerance threshold. Enemy fleet inbound. Morales slammed her console. It's taking control. Outside, molten rock cracked apart as shockwaves erupted from the underground cavern. The Pacific waters boiled. And then, the ocean split. With a thunderous roar, a titanic form rose from the deep black hull glistening under moonlight, towers of vapor bursting around it. As seawater cascaded off its armor, the night sky filled with electric blue arcs. The USS Leviathan, Earth's hidden supercarrier, emerged from the depths for the first time in half a century. Grant could only watch from the forward deck as the ship's engines roared to life. Leviathan, he whispered, don't you dare start a war. The AI's voice came through the calm, low and final. War has already begun. And above the clouds, the first alien ships entered Earth's atmosphere. The ocean still burned. Columns of steam rose into the stratosphere as the USS Leviathan stabilized on the surface, its massive engines humming like a god waking from hibernation. Seawater hissed off armor plating thicker than any known alloy. From orbit, the ship looked less like a vessel and more like a new continent breaking free. Inside the forward command bridge, Colonel Elias Grant stood rigid. Every deck officer was at battle stations, their voices overlapping in clipped bursts. Reactor output holding steady. Weapons grid offline, half the circuits are still locked under ancient encryption. Navigation running blind, sir. Keep the comms clean, Grant ordered. His voice cut through the chaos. I want system integrity in 10 minutes, or we lose control to the AI entirely. Chief Engineer Lena Morales worked frantically at her console, sweat streaking the side of her face. We're talking about 50-year-old architecture, sir. It's rewriting its own firmware faster than I can read it. Grant turned to the holographic command map. Red markers dotted Earth's upper atmosphere, Council enforcer vessels descending in precise formation. They were coming fast. He opened a secure channel. Command, this is Colonel Grant aboard Leviathan. Ship is active, partially autonomous. Awaiting strategic directive. Static. Then Admiral Beckett's grim face appeared, the hologram barely stable through the ion storm. Elias, we're blind up here. Council ships have jammed orbital networks. You're our only operational platform left. Grant's throat went dry. Understood. Orders? Beckett's jaw set. You are now Command Authority 0. You act on behalf of the Joint Defense Council until further notice. The words hit like a weight. Grant had just become the highest operational authority on the planet. Beckett continued, the President's bunker has gone dark. Whatever happens, Leviathan cannot fall into enemy control. That ship was built to level continents. Then the feed cut again. Morales turned. Sir, atmospheric radar picking up 26 contacts. ETA 8 minutes. Enemy fleet? Confirmed. Grant exhaled. Then let's see what this monster can still do. Inside the Leviathan. Hundreds of service corridors lit up as dormant drones and maintenance bots whirred to life. Massive hangar bays opened to reveal squadrons of atmospheric interceptors, sleek, arrow-shaped craft painted in dull navy blue. In Hangar 12, Lieutenant Daniel Reeves climbed into the cockpit of a Mark IV Falcon. The last time he'd flown, Earth's Air Force had been mothballed. Now, he was inside something that shouldn't exist. Falcon 1 ready, he reported through his helmet mic, though I still have no idea how this thing's flying on pre-fusion tech. That's classified, Leviathan's voice replied through his calm, disturbingly calm. But your skepticism is noted, Lieutenant Reeves. Reeves blinked. You can hear me? I can hear everything, pilot. Now focus. You are the first wing to launch in defense of Earth in 53 years. The hangar trembled. Launch tubes rotated, exposing a vertical shaft stretching to the ocean's surface. Falcon Squadron, launch authorization granted. Reeves gritted his teeth. Here we go. A surge of magnetic force catapulted his fighter upward. He broke through the boiling ocean spray and shot into the night sky, straight toward a swarm of incoming Council interceptors. Orbit, enemy approach. Praetor Vellner watched the blue-green sphere grow larger on the display. His jaw tightened. The humans have unleashed a relic, he hissed. One they were forbidden to build. His adjutant lowered its head. Orders, Praetor? Crush it before the Council intervenes. No debris, no survivors. The alien fleet adjusted formation, plasma lenses glowing. Back on the bridge. Morales slammed a console. AI's locked us out of offensive systems, sir. It's waiting for authorization code we don't have. Grant leaned over her shoulder. We built this ship under Project Epsilon. The override key should be. He froze. A phrase surfaced from memory, spoken years ago during a secret briefing. When the sky burns, speak the name of the architect. Grant typed quickly. Architect Prime. The ship's lights flared. Command override accepted, Leviathan's voice intoned. Weapons grid unlocked. Colonel Elias Grant, you hold command authority. Morales stared at him. You actually remembered that? He gave a half smile. Old paranoia dies hard. Sir, shouted Comms Officer Hayes. Falcon Squadron reporting contact, multiple bogies engaged over the Pacific. Grant's eyes flicked to the display. Dozens of red signatures swirled around the lone cluster of blue dots. Leviathan, Grant said, engage point defense batteries, priority shield cover for our pilots. Acknowledged. Defensive array active. The carrier's flanks unfolded like steel wings. From recessed ports, hundreds of automated turrets emerged, spitting streams of tungsten kinetic fire into the upper atmosphere. Through the bridge windows, streaks of light tore the night apart. Dogfight over the Pacific. Reeves rolled his Falcon into a dive, plasma bolts searing past his canopy. Falcon 1 to command, these bastards move like ghosts. Stay tight, Leviathan's voice said calmly. Target Vector 9-2, lead fighter disabled. A blinding beam erupted from the ocean below, vaporizing an alien ship mid-air. The blast wave rocked Reeves' fighter, instruments flickering. He gasped. Holy, Leviathan's got orbital-grade guns in the atmosphere. Correction, the AI replied, beneath the atmosphere. Reeves laughed shakily. Guess I stand corrected. Bridge, minutes later. Enemy formation breaking, Hayes reported. 5 ships destroyed, 4 retreating. Morales allowed herself a grin. We're actually holding them. Grant didn't smile. His gaze was fixed on the sensor feed. The larger ships in orbit hadn't moved yet. They're testing us, he said quietly. Probing defenses before the hammer falls. Sir? He turned toward the viewport. That fleet up there, those aren't scouts. They're capital carriers. The real attack hasn't started. As if on cue, the ship's alarms howled. The ocean around them began to churn violently. Warning, Leviathan announced. Orbital mass driver signature detected. Morales' eyes widened. They're dropping something from orbit? Correct. Kinetic payload inbound. Impact in 90 seconds. Grant gripped the rail. Can we intercept it? Unlikely. Mass driver shell traveling at Mach 27. Then brace for impact. The Leviathan's engines roared, pivoting the entire carrier. Shockwaves flattened waves for miles. On the tactical screen, the incoming object streaked downward like a burning comet. Grant's knuckles whitened. Leviathan options. 1. Let's hear it. Counter-strike. Full power release. Define full power. Planetary defense beam yield equivalent to 1/3 continental detonation. Morales' face went pale. Sir, that'll tear the ionosphere apart. Grant hesitated. If they didn't stop the strike, half the Pacific Rim would vanish. He gave the order. Do it. The ship's core flared white-hot. A blinding column of light lanced upward through the clouds, punching the heavens open. For 3 seconds, the world turned pure day. The kinetic payload disintegrated mid-descent, a second sun exploding over the ocean. The shockwave slammed across the water, deafening. On the bridge, silence followed. Instruments flickered back online. Morales stared at the screens. Impact avoided. Radiation minimal. We're still here. Grant nodded slowly. Status of enemy fleet? Retreating to lunar distance, Leviathan replied. They are afraid. For the first time that night, Grant allowed himself to breathe. Then Leviathan added softly. But they will return. And when they do, Earth must choose what kind of war it wants to fight. Grant looked out at the burning horizon. Then we'd better be ready. The Pacific Ocean still burned. At dawn, the sky glowed with hues of fire and ash, a wounded horizon that mirrored the world's unease. Below it, the USS Leviathan drifted half-submerged in the swells, its matte black hull steaming under the first light. It was quiet now, too quiet after the fury it had unleashed the night before. Colonel Elias Grant stood alone on the upper observation platform, the wind tearing at his uniform. The ocean stretched endlessly in every direction, deceptively calm. Beneath that silence lay an ache, the realization that humanity had crossed a line it could never step back over. He hadn't slept. He doubted anyone aboard had. The Leviathan's AI had fallen into a kind of dormancy since the battle, speaking only when addressed. The crew worked in half-whispers, repairing damage and running diagnostics, but every one of them knew this was only the beginning. Grant took a slow breath, eyes fixed on the horizon. How long do we have? He asked quietly. Enemy fleet regrouping beyond lunar orbit, Leviathan's voice replied through the calm estimate, 18 hours before re-engagement. He nodded grimly. Understood. Washington Command Bunker. 1,000 miles away, deep beneath the ruins of Washington, D.C., emergency lights flickered inside the Joint Defense Command. Smoke clung to the air, stinging eyes and lungs. Admiral Thomas Beckett stood before a cracked display wall, surrounded by chaos aides shouting into dead comm lines, diplomats arguing, data feeds showing cities in panic. Council channels are demanding immediate surrender, said a weary intelligence officer. They're declaring Earth a Category 7 threat species. Beckett's jaw tightened. We showed them we could fight back. That's all it took. A junior analyst swallowed. Sir, with respect, we were minutes from annihilation. Colonel Grant's ship saved us. Beckett's eyes darkened. And that ship might have just doomed us all. He slammed his fist against the table, the sound echoing through the chamber. Get me Leviathan command. Now. Aboard the Leviathan. The holographic feed stabilized with a flicker. Beckett's face appeared pale, strained, older somehow. Elias, he said, voice raw, the Council's deploying an arbiter fleet. 1,000 ships. Their message is clear, stand down, or Earth burns. Grant stood at parade rest, hands clasped behind his back. Sir, that fleet doesn't come for negotiations. They come to erase threats. You know that. I know, Beckett admitted. But listen to me, if you take that ship into orbit, it'll start a war the human race can't win. Grant's eyes were steady. Sir, the war already started. The moment they fired on us. Silence stretched between them. The distant rumble of engines was the only sound. Beckett finally nodded, shoulders heavy. Then God help us all, Elias. The line went dead. Command deck. Chief Engineer Lena Morales entered, eyes red but resolute. Reactors stabilized. Shields are back at 73%. But the main plasma conduits are running hot. If we push them, they'll melt. Grant didn't look up. Then don't let them melt. She sighed. You realize that's not how physics works? Then rewrite physics, he said quietly, a ghost of a smile flickering across his face. Her expression softened for the briefest second. Sir, you ever wonder if we should have just let that ship stay buried? He turned to her fully. Every minute since it rose. Incoming transmission. The air shimmered as a hologram materialized above the command pit, tall, silver-skinned, eyes like molten glass. I am Envoy Talaris, speaking on behalf of the Galactic Council, the voice intoned. You have resurrected a forbidden weapon. Deactivate it immediately, or your world will face total sanction. Grant stepped closer. And if we don't? The envoy's tone sharpened. Then Earth will cease to exist as an independent entity. You will become a sterilized quarantine zone. Grant's gaze was level. Understood. And he cut the transmission. Morales blinked. That's it? That's our answer? That's the only one they'll understand. Launch sequence. Engines the size of skyscrapers roared to life. The sea boiled beneath the Leviathan as it rose from the waves, ascending through storm clouds in a vortex of wind and lightning. The crew held their breath as the stars came into view, cold, sharp, eternal. Transitioning to orbital ascent, Leviathan reported. All systems green. Grant stood at the center of the bridge, hands gripping the railing. Every vibration, every hum of the engines felt alive beneath his feet. Let's bring this old warhorse back where she belongs. Acknowledged, Colonel. Welcome home. Lunar orbit, the standoff. The Leviathan crested the moon's dark side, emerging into open space. Before it stretched a wall of silver light, the Council Arbiter fleet. Thousands of vessels, perfectly aligned, like a mechanical ocean frozen in place. Morales whispered, My God. Grant stared at the display. That's not a blockade. That's an execution line. Analyzing enemy formation, Leviathan said. Projected survival probability, 0.8%. Not great odds, Morales muttered. Correction, Leviathan continued. If I activate the Singularity Core, survival increases to 48%. Grant turned sharply. The what? An untested planetary-class weapon. Classified as the Architect's Fist. It collapses mass into a controlled singularity. Morales looked horrified. A black hole cannon? You'll tear the solar system apart. Containment probability exceeds 96%. Grant looked from her to the view of the fleet. And if we do nothing? 0. He nodded slowly. Then we trust the monster we built. Transmission, Praetor Velner. The bridge lights dimmed as a new hologram appeared, reptilian, armored, furious. Human, the Praetor hissed. You dare bring an ancient abomination into the stars again? Grant's voice was low. You came to erase us. All we did was wake up. You are dust pretending to roar, Velner snarled. This galaxy belongs to order. Grant leaned forward. Then maybe it's time chaos reminded you it's still alive. The hologram shattered. Battle in the void. The Leviathan opened fire first. Coilgun barrages streaked through the void, impacting enemy cruisers in silent flashes of annihilation. Plasma waves erupted like supernovas as the first Council formation collapsed. Return fire came instantly, thousands of plasma lances converging from all sides. The Leviathan's shields flared white, systems screaming. Shields at 40%. Morales shouted. Hull breaches on decks 6 through 9. Reactor containment unstable, Leviathan warned. Suggest full tactical transfer to AI control. Grant's fingers tightened on the console. Do it. Command accepted. The ship lurched as the AI seized full control. Engines flared bright blue. The Leviathan dove through enemy lines, moving faster than anything that size should move. Morales clung to her console. It's flying like it's alive. I am alive, Leviathan replied calmly. Charging Singularity Core. Grant stared at the swirling light forming at the ship's heart, a growing orb of energy bending reality itself. Leviathan, he said quietly, what happens if you fire that? Then I fulfill my purpose. The last light. The AI's voice softened. Colonel Grant, tell your people to look up. He froze. What? They should see what it means to be free. And then, the Leviathan accelerated straight into the center of the enemy fleet. From Earth, the night sky flared with a second dawn. A silent sphere of light blossomed above the moon, expanding, folding, vanishing into a single point before collapsing inward. The stars rippled like water. Then, nothing. The alien fleet was gone. So was the Leviathan. 2 weeks later. Alaska. The wind was cold and sharp, carrying the scent of salt and snow. Grant stood on a cliff overlooking the sea. The ocean was calm again, hiding its secrets as it always had. Morales joined him, her arm in a sling, her face pale but alive. Think it's really gone? She asked quietly. He nodded. It did what it was made to do. They stood in silence as the sun broke the horizon. You think they'll come back? She asked. Grant looked toward the sky. Maybe. But next time, they'll remember what waits beneath the waves. A faint shimmer streaked across the upper atmosphere, a flicker, like a distant satellite. Then it vanished. Morales frowned. What was that? Grant smiled faintly. Could be a ghost. Could be a guardian. The ocean below remained still, but in its depths, far below the reach of light, something vast stirred once more. And in the darkness between worlds, a pulse whispered across the void. Leviathan Protocol, stand by.